This summer, Johnsonville reminds everyone to get their sausage family together to enjoy some plump, juicy brats around the grill. Because at Johnsonville, we don't make sausage, we make family and sausage.
National League Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss, he struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4, Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Golic. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Here's what we have for you today. Adrian Peterson is reinstated and Kris Bryant is called up. Jameis Winston in a civil lawsuit. Michael and Jemele Hill chime in. Coach Tom Thibodeau from the Bulls joins us, as well as Grant Hill breaking down the NBA playoffs.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Oh, a happy Friday morning to you. Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, on ESPN2. Ryan Ruocco in for Greeny alongside Golic. 5 full days of me hanging out with you, Golic.
I know. You know, I'm getting, you know, it's, yeah, I don't even
It's
know
your
what to
social
say.
dream
I just don't
come
know
true.
What to say. I mean, every day you keep trying to friend me a little more, a little more. We've gotten along well, though. What happens over time when you get to know somebody a little bit and you're spending some time with them, you find out a little more about them, and I find out you carry around your own compact.
That's right.
To which I think now you and my wife feel they have something in common.
Yeah, no, I bond with Kris.
That's just great. You carry it around like proudly.
Yeah, I do. I have it right here. I
know you have that. You have your moisturizer over there.
My knuckles bleed. I have no choice but to keep my hands smooth.
See, you said that yesterday, and I didn't really want to get into it because first I didn't care, and second, but then I thought, God help me for asking, why do your knuckles bleed?
Because I wash my hands so much because I'm neurotic about germs. So, like, if you constantly wash your hands in cold weather,
because you're neurotic and because you feel you need to wash your hands a lot, and you feel that serves some purpose. Because of that, your knuckles bleed.
Yeah. It's all a vicious cycle that I'm caught in, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, no, there is. Stop washing your hands so much to make your knuckles bleed.
No.
What do you mean there's nothing you can do about it?
If I don't want the germs on my hands, then I have to eventually moisturize. It's just like step 3 of a long step of my neuroses.
I was just going to realize it's all in your head.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
but
mean,
you know what? It's good because Greeny has these neuroses as well. So, I'm just trying to keep it consistent for you in this show.
Not going to lie, you have more.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, luckily you got rid of one with the eating thing.
Yeah.
You're back to eating meat and such, but you wash your hands so much, your knuckles bleed. That's why you use moisturizer.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. That's the cycle. That's what I'm caught in right here.
I have never been so ready to move on in my life than right now.
Strong start to a Friday.
I knew I was going to be sorry I asked.
And now you are. We're set up for a great sports weekend. The NBA playoffs going to begin. Have a full slate of games on ESPN and ABC tomorrow. ABC as well on Sunday. You have the NHL playoffs now, all the series a game deep. And Golic, yesterday, we got some football news, too. Adrian Peterson going to be reinstated today after his issues off the field. He will be reinstated, but his situation is still very much up for grabs.
Again, if you were sleeping through this or don't remember the timeline, Peterson was suspended without pay last November 18th, and for the remainder of the season for violating the personal conduct policy incident of abuse and discipline that he inflicted on his 4-year-old son last May. Pleaded no contest November 4th in state court, Montgomery County, Texas, to reckless assault of a child. So April 15th was the date we knew about it, talking about reinstatement. So now he is reinstated. Off-season programs get going for teams. Some started on the 13th. Others start this Monday on the 20th. So it's when you can officially start working out together. During that time, you'll be able to get on the field for some days. You also have mini camps in there. So it's also voluntary. So some players who have issues with their contracts won't show up to this, or for whatever reason they may not show up to this. And Adrian Peterson has basically said, I feel it's time to move on. And the Minnesota Vikings said, we feel we want to have you on our team.
And look, initially there are people who have a problem with just him being reinstated at all. How could he play? Look what he did to his child. Hey, even though what he did to his child is reprehensible, you can't punish these guys forever unless they do certain crimes. A lot of times we react to he's guilty of something and act like well, that means he needs the death penalty in this career. Or, no, certain crimes you go to jail forever for. Certain crimes you go to jail for 6 months for. Certain crimes you don't go to jail at all. Certain crimes you get suspended for a full year. Certain ones you get suspended for a game. There are different levels. So just on reinstatement alone, Golic, I feel like, hey, he served his time. He paid his dues. Now, what are you going to do? Permanently keep him out of the workforce?
No, you're absolutely not going to do that. And I know there are those out there who say guys like he or guys like a Greg Hardy and players like that should never play in the NFL again. And listen, you're absolutely welcome to have that point of view. But they have every right after serving their time. You may disagree with the policy. You may disagree with the punishment. And we know the personal conduct policy for the NFL has been certainly under scrutiny over this past year, and they have a new one out, and there'll be guidelines in that as well. There will be guys that break the rules of that policy. There will be guys that are suspended under that policy, and when they serve their suspension, they have every right to play again. Every right to play. You go back to a Greg Hardy, the Cowboys signed him. There were plenty of teams that said, that basically said, yes, he has every right to play, and we have every right to not sign him, which is exactly right. So he absolutely has a right. Greg Hardy, even though, you're repulsed when you read the report of what supposedly went on, and he was actually found guilty by a bench judge, even though that gets thrown out and go to the trial. I don't want to relive that whole thing. But there are many that teams that said, nah, this guy's a great pass rusher. This guy in the open market with no marks against him is making buco bucks.
Yeah.
For a team, and everybody wants him. So no, they have every right to have the opportunity to play. And then it's up to a team. At the end of the day, the owners hold the cards. The owners can say, nope, don't want him, move on. And then you don't sign that guy. So they're the ones that ultimately hold the cards in all this. When a guy serves a suspension, everybody can cry out he shouldn't be playing anymore. But he served his time. He should have every right to have the opportunity to play. This is a different case here with Adrian Peterson. He's under contract. So when his suspension is done, he reverts back to his contract, and his contract is with the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings said, we want him on our team. Now, we'll see where this plays out, because the options are he goes and plays for them. The Minnesota Vikings cut him. The Minnesota Vikings trade him. Adrian Peterson just sits out and says, I'm not going to play for you. So there are a few things that can happen in this. The bottom line, Minnesota holds all the cards. They hold all the cards in this thing. If Adrian Peterson says, I don't want to play, they'll say, okay, you're not going to get your $750,000 a week to play that you would get.
That's a good check.
And you can sit.
Yeah.
We're not going to trade you. We're not going to cut you. You're going to play for us, or you're not going to play. They could take that hardline stance. And then there's the, I don't want to play for you, I'm not going to play for you. Minnesota thinking to themselves, well, do we make a smart business decision here and get something for him? So that's where, and this is something we're not going to know. We're going to hear our insiders talk about it. But is Minnesota playing hardball to get the price up? Is Minnesota playing hardball so that a team that wants, say, Arizona Cardinals, if they want Adrian Peterson, they're going to call and Minnesota's giving this air, we're not trading them. So you feel you have to come in with a huge offer to get him to trade, and then they'll trade him. That's the game that could be going on right now. Or Minnesota could be flat out telling you the absolute truth and saying, we're not trading you, we're not cutting you, you're with us or you're not playing.
Well, here's Adam Schefter's thoughts on a potential trade.
The Minnesota Vikings have made it very clear that they want him back and they intend to bring him back. And for all the speculation that there's been a trade involving Adrian Peterson, I think it would very much be up to another team to try to convince the Vikings in the form of an enticing enough offer that he would be somebody that they should consider trading. But right now, that doesn't seem like something Minnesota is willing to do.
Here's my thing, Golic. If you're a running back away from a Super Bowl, if the Minnesota Vikings are knocking on the door of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, then I understand wanting to cling to Adrian Peterson for dear life. Because he is, in a league where there aren't necessarily boatloads of them, a difference maker at the running back position. He's an offensive weapon who is a completely unique asset, and even a year off I don't think is going to change that, at least for this season. However, he still is a 30-year-old running back.
Right.
In the history of this league, there have only been two of them who've played one or fewer games one season, then come back at the age of 30 and rush for 1,000 yards. Garrison Hurst, Mike Anderson. That's it. And you could get something for him. Or Adrian Peterson at his best. He has what, 2, 3 good years left?
Yeah, I mean, because he's popping to 30. So, yeah absolutely.
And so if you're the Vikings, is that your timetable? Or are you better off getting something that actually co-aligns with your timetable? And that's where I think if they want to use this as a stance to get more out of a team, make sure they get bowled over with an offer, cool. But to just say, no, he's our guy, we're holding on to him, to me, that would be very short-sighted.
Well, there's two things with this. There's one, if you're playing hardball to try and get a good offer.
Right.
And say, okay, listen, even if he comes and plays for us, and by the way, what is he, a $15 million number against the cap? $15 million against the cap, so he's costing you. So, do you want to trade him away and see what you can get? Or look at your team and say, now, let's play it out. The NFL is a league where you can turn it around in a year. If you put the right pieces in place, we've seen 500 teams or below 500 teams the next year be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we know it can happen. So look at what you have. You have a young quarterback that you like in Teddy Bridgewater. I liked him a lot. Had a nice year. You pick up Mike Wallace. He gets all the money in Miami, and it doesn't really work. Yeah. So now he's in Minnesota. What are we thinking here? You had 9 receivers last year that were catching double digits. Nobody blowing anybody out of the water. Greg Jennings was your leading receiver last year with 59 receptions. But it's with a rookie quarterback, so you can see it. A lot of receivers in there. A lot of guys got chances. Spread the ball out a lot. So now you take that next step. You get Kyle Rudolph back. He was nicked up a little bit. It'd be a great target for a young quarterback, but you need some help on the outside. They're expecting that from Mike Wallace. I don't know what they're going to get there. So you'd like to supplement that with a heck of a running game. Adrian Peterson gives you a heck of a running game. So through the transitional years, there's the thought process. Listen, if you're in Minnesota, you're thinking about winning right now. I mean, you have to. That's your thought process. But for those of us on the outside looking in, everybody has their prognostication of a team. And I don't think anybody going into this year, even if AP plays for them, is saying, oh, yeah, they're going to win that division. Now, they certainly could, but I don't think a lot of people see it. So now, but do you use AP through the transition of getting Teddy Bridgewater more experience and having him have a good running game to help in the passing game? But is that worth $15 million a year to you? That's the question they're asking themselves. So that's something that we talk about misinformation for the draft all the time. Well, this could be another one of those. Again, Minnesota could be telling the truth and saying, he's ours, that's it, nothing happening. Or they could be making that stance to make it look like another team. If you want Adrian Peterson, basically, you better come to the table hard in that one and really make us a heck of an offer if we're going to think about trading.
Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today.
If you ask me really quickly which way to go, it would seem if you can get something good for him, it would be time to move on. Because he only has a year or two left.
And that's not your timetable. If you look at it from 30,000 feet, and it's hard because, like you were just saying, you want to win because your job's on the line. If you're the GM, you don't know that you have the same timetable that your personnel actually may be on.
Right.
How about this, Golic? If you're a team that is maybe on the brink, would you give up a middle round, second round pick for Adrian Peterson?
For that, I'm sure. Well, second round is way different than a middle round.
I'm sorry. I mean, like a middle of the second round. Let's say you're a team that thinks it can make a jump from 8-8 to real contender this year. Would you give up the 45th pick of the draft for Adrian
Peterson?
Team in
that crosshair right now.
Yeah,
the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay,
Arizona Cardinals have no running game. Now you need a line too, and they've had some injuries on the offensive line. Let's see if they can get that squared away. Bringing in some free agents to try and solidify that. You're getting Carson Palmer, should have him back. Look what you do. Larry Fitzgerald back. You have Michael Floyd as well. So you
young kid Brown he was terrific at receiver.
Some good receiver. So and a good defense. So it's a team, even though they lost their coordinator and Todd Bowles, who's the head coach at the Jets now. So you think that's a team ready? Do we think San Fran's taking a step back with all the issues that went on with them in the offseason? The Rams, we're still not sure of their quarterback position, even though they got Nick Foles, but do they feel good about that? Are they ready to make a move? Seattle, they're going to be there. We know that. But everybody thinks Arizona's ready to make that move. So, and make that move now in the next 1 or 2 years, because Carson Palmer's not getting any younger either. So do you attach Adrian Peterson to that? Say, we'll give up a second rounder to bring him in to give us 1, maybe 2 years of he and Carson Palmer getting a good running game going, got the guys on the outside. Yes, I do that.
You have
I would
to,
do
right?
that in a heartbeat to do that, to get that, because you're on that couple-year timetable, because really with Carson Palmer, you're not sure how much time is left there.
You know, before we get to maybe the guy who's going to become baseball's biggest star finally getting to the big stage, a couple great notes from Hembo, just in regard to the Adrian Peterson conversation, Golic. So the Cardinals ranked last in the NFL last season in rush efficiency. Andre Ellington and Stephon Taylor as their feature backs, and they have $9.7 million available in cap space right now. Plus, you know, Peterson's cap hit over the next 3 years, $46.4 million. So maybe you found a fit right there between a team who could really use him at the running back position.
You could, because, again, you got a couple of years there. I just looked, Carson Palmer is going to be 36 in December. So, you know, you like what he was doing. Obviously, the injury takes him down. You get a little older. Let's see how he comes back from the injury. But you have to like what he was doing, you know, without question. So if you can get him back and get him healthy from a passing standpoint, we talked about the weapons that he has. And, you know, last year he was a guy, when he got hurt, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completing 63% of his passes. So it seems like you have to look at teams that are that piece away, and I think the Cardinals could be one of those pieces away, and it could be Adrian Peterson.
Mike and AutoZone want to get you where you want to go, so next week tune in to hear how AutoZone is helping us give you the sports fans experience of a lifetime. AutoZone, it's called The Zone. We will help you get there. Golic, we all wanted it to happen about 10 days ago, but it's happening now. Kris Bryant being called up to the big leagues today. Got the call last night. He is headed to the Chicago Cubs. Now, remember, Bryant became the face of the controversial rule in the CBA in baseball, which states a player is credited with a full year of service time if he's in the majors for 172 days out of the 183-day season. So, by keeping him in the minors for this extra 11 days, the Cubs retained his rights for an extra year. So now his free agency won't happen in 2020, but instead in 2021. And guess what? Cubs are in first place. So at 5-3 through the first 8 games, they were able to weather the storm without Kris Bryant.
Weather the storm.
and now, Golic, they get a guy who, after his 9 home runs in spring training, he already has 3 in the minors this year.
Well, listen, this story we talked a little bit about in spring training. Were the 8 games going to make or break? Well, ask yourself this. There's 82 games in the NBA, and did 4 teams, were they playing for 2 spots in the last game of the regular season? Mm-hmm. Yes, they were. And the end of this baseball season, will there be some teams needing that last game or things that happen on that last day? I would say probably. I would put it as a higher percentage that somewhere that last game is going to mean something. So that was a lot of people's thought processes. On the one side, it's just 8 games, and the other side is you never know about those 8 games. So they're sitting here at 5-3. So weathering the storm, as you say, is an interesting way to put it. But they are there, and they're waiting for this kid. Now, again, he hasn't produced yet. The expectation is unbelievably high. And if you've seen this kid play, holy smokes. And what's been going on at third base with the Cubs has been pretty horrific, even though, again, it's just 8 games in. But they've been getting nothing, especially no offensive production out of that position. So everybody was waiting for this. But as I said, I get it from both sides. I get why his agent, Scott Boras, was, mad at this, saying this wasn't the spirit of the rule to do this. And the Cubs saying it's a business decision, and I get it. Sports is a business, gang. It's entertainment. It's fun. You go watch for fun. But inside it, it's a business. And the Cubs said, for 8 games, we get an extra year with him. It's a no-brainer.
Who wouldn't do that?
You would absolutely do that. Again, are you saying it's not the spirit of the rule? Okay, all right. If the Cubs were, okay, whatever. But we got another year with him, and we're 5-3.
And by the way, this is the kind of guy who, if he lives up to what he's projected to be, you want to have that extra year of control, because he is going to be in line for some big money if he lives up to what he's done in the minors. So just to give you an idea of some of his credentials, he's the 2nd overall pick in the 2013 Major League Draft. Got a $6.7 million signing bonus for that. He was the 2014 Baseball America Minor League Player of the Year. Kris Bryant, also the #1 prospect in Major League Baseball, according to our Keith Law. And how about this, Golic? He has 55 home runs in 181 career minor league games. Those are gargantuan power numbers. And for a sport right now that is starved of power hitters, he is a guy who could come up right away and be somebody who we stop and watch his at-bats, Golic. We just want to see him play.
Everybody's going to certainly do that early. We'll settle in at some point because it's a long season, but the anticipation of what, are the appetite or the appetizer we got in spring training, like, oh, my God, okay, I can't wait to see this kid take a bat. And I mentioned Cubs' third base this season. They're last in batting average, on-base percentage. They're 27th, and slugging percentage are 28th. So they need some offensive output there, and that's exactly what, from a defending position, had a couple errors in the minors, he'll work through that. You'll take that if you get on the offensive end what this kid can bring.
And it shows you a little something, doesn't it, that he hit 9 homers. He goes down to the minors even though he should have been in the majors. And what does he do? Oh, he only hits 3 homers in his first few games.
So kind of like young kid, kind of like Jordan Spieth, will there be unrealistic expectations? Jordan Spieth, by the way, may have trouble making the cut today.
Yeah, that's
Where's
right.
he, in Hilton Head? I believe they're in Hilton Head.
Somewhere.
I think he shot the first round. He was 3 over.
Yeah.
And listen,
I think he only had 1 birdie
His week has been unbelievable.
Right.
We don't know how much golf he got, but we know the expectations going on him. So we saw what this kid did. It was as people say, it's against the big leaguers, but it was in spring training. But, everybody knows about this kid and what he was supposedly supposed to do. So now he's going to get that chance, but there'll be greater expectations on him than maybe there should be. Everybody's, expecting the next all-time home run hitter to start his career in Chicago tonight.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Guys, when you buy your clothes at DXL, you look good. But you feel like a rock star. So if you want to look and feel like you'll find all the brands you love, waist size 38 and up, all in one awesome store. DXL, you're looking good. Right now, select dress shirts are just $49.50 each when you buy 2 or more.
The best of Mike and Mike.
We have so much going on. Hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs starting tomorrow, the draft coming up. We're going to get into Jameis Winston with his latest situation. Will his draft status be affected? Adam Kaplan can help us with that as well. But, oh, my gosh, the selfie stick thing has just exploded. The Kentucky Derby has banned the selfie stick. And
rightfully so.
No. Other places have as well. Museums, music festivals, the Smithsonian has. Other events such as Coachella, Lollapalooza, and get it there. I understand that. At soccer matches, absolutely. Don't let anybody take anything in a soccer match that could resemble anything that could do anything. But I'm amazed at this. The guy it's a Canadian, Wayne Fromm, who invented this. He took a selfie stick patent out a decade ago. He said, listen, he doesn't have a problem if people want to do it. He just doesn't think it's going to hurt his sales. By the way, congrats to you, Wayne, because I know you're rolling in it after this thing, because it's a popular thing. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If we're going to start banning this thing, in baseball, do they have bat days?
They do.
Do they still have bat days, or have those been banned?
They have not been banned.
I got a bat day.
So you're saying
handing people who are drinking a bat. But we have a problem with a selfie stick. You got people in this article saying, well, it's a crowded place. I don't want to be getting jabbed or poked. Or what do we think, that nobody has control of their bodies when they have a stick and they're just going to jab people? I mean, my God, it's just they use it to take pictures and they put it down. All of a sudden, we think World War III is going to break out. We think we're going to get a scene from Star Wars, the lightsabers. People are going to start going nuts on them.
Oh, speaking of, the new trailer came out yesterday.
That's why I said
so
it.
Good. Oh, my gosh, the new trailer was amazing. But Golic, maybe what you're pointing out here in regard to having Bat Day.
Common sense, maybe?
And if you have Bat Day and you also ban selfie sticks, it would seem that you are being a little bit hypocritical, right? Because a selfie stick is what? Probably even less dangerous than a bat, and yet you allow the bats. However, I think what it is it's an appropriate take on a social stance. The selfie stick should go. And these stadiums...
That's ridiculous.
No. These stadiums understand its flaws. Look...
What's bad about a selfie stick?
There's just something about it, man.
No.
It's dehumanizing.
If you're in a court of law and a lawyer says, Ryan Ruocco, what's bad about a selfie stick? And you say, I'm going to throw you out of court.
You're right.
Here's
my problem. There's something demeaning about when I take out a stick to take a picture of myself, and I have to. I think this is a fantastic tweet about the selfie and why it works. Okay, Chad Richards tweets at us via the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, and he says the selfie should be spontaneous. The stick makes it seem premeditated. And that's so true. The only reason that we're okay with people turning like this and taking pictures of ourselves is because it's like, hey, I just want to quick capture a moment. No one's here to take it. Okay, bam.
Let me ask you a question.
If you have the stick, it's so premeditated
that it just
feels off.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You take a lot of selfies, do you not?
Only with you, my friend.
When you go to an event, do you think right now the people that are going to the Kentucky Derby, that are the young people, anybody that's going there, do you think right now they know that they're going to take some selfies?
Oh, yeah.
So there's nothing spontaneous about it. They're going there, and you know they're going to take selfies. It's just a matter of when and where, so who cares if a stick gets you a little farther away to get more in it?
No, you know what?
You know they're going there to take selfies.
I think that they know that they're taking selfies if their people have already bought sticks. I think the person who takes the spontaneous selfie...
They knew they were taking selfies before they bought the stick.
Look, I'm a part of the selfie culture. I feel a little uncomfortable about my role in it, but I feel more uncomfortable with the idea of having to use devices to help perpetuate this terrible act.
Adapt or die. I think Daryl says it best for people like you. I think a selfie stick is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, but I sure wish I invented it. That would be Wayne from Canada who invented that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Terry Adamek says, I'm sick of craning around someone holding selfie stick at an event I paid for, including museums. # rude.
Oh, why?
You could tweet at us, Mike and Mike, reminding you that if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Be the reason they smile. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for exclusive offers starting at $29.99. By the way,
go ahead and transition to this next story.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no good way to do so. But Jameis Winston, we've talked a lot this week, Golic, about his draft status, and we've heard different reasons from some of our insiders about maybe why he wouldn't be the first pick. We heard from Jaws saying he wondered if Mariota might be a better fit for Tampa's system, especially with their offensive line. We heard Merrill Hodge say he actually would take Todd Gurley #1 overall.
Yeah,
he's not in love with either of these quarterbacks. And now we know that when it comes to Jameis Winston, there were concerns because of the rape allegations, which he was eventually cleared of. There were concerns given what he yelled in front of a student body, a profanity, the stealing at the Publix.
But let's be honest, what was the biggest thing was obviously the
rape
alleged,
allegations.
The rape allegations. That's exactly right. And now they have resurfaced in the form of a civil suit by the young lady Erica Kinsman has filed a civil suit against Jameis Winston. And she's been part of this documentary that I saw a trailer for and bits of the pieces called The Hunting Grounds. It's about rapes on college campuses. It was released on in February 27th. I know it's been at some film festivals and such, and it's certainly public and it's out there and you can view it whenever you would like. And she was part of this big documentary. So she's suing. It's a civil suit. And while criminal charges were never brought against Jameis Winston, we know civil suits takes less. The burden of proof is a lot less.
Right.
So the question here, this didn't go to court because the court system said they didn't think they had enough to do anything. So now it's being brought up again in a civil suit. So the question, and again, we'll have Adam Kaplan be one of the questions we'll ask him and ask all our NFL people as well, is what does this do to draft status? Mm-hmm. Because just not getting into the situation is going to court. It's a civil suit. That's going to happen. So now if you're Tampa Bay, now it's, do you draft someone? And they've already released a statement. It doesn't change their mind about what they intend to do. And I still think Jameis is going to be the #1. I believe Jameis is the #1 pick. Does this affect it is the question. Because if they still believe Jameis, you still have to deal with the fact that you are going to draft a guy in a couple of weeks, the first pick in the draft, with where we are in professional sports, especially football, with what they've gone on in the last year, who has a civil case of rape hanging over his head while you pick him. And that case is still going to, unless something happens between now and then, I have no idea if it will or not, but let's just play it out. If this is going to happen, and obviously it's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks and be done. So if you're a team like Tampa Bay, do you take him even though that's hanging out there?
And look, we obviously weren't there. We don't know exactly what happened. We do know that he was cleared of those charges,
right.
And we know that his defense team has always felt like, this was a money grab.
Right.
Now, whether it is or not, I have no idea, but the civil suit would fall in line with that thinking. And I think if you're a team, you look at it and you say, one of twofold. Okay, one, do you want to have somebody who's associated with these allegations in this NFL climate at all? Okay, that's a concern. But also, this is your quarterback. If this is going to carry on, do you want something hanging over his head as he's trying to prepare to be an NFL quarterback as well? Does that affect his preparation at all or his ability to focus?
We've always said that when your top pick, especially if it's a quarterback, now becomes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are associated with Jameis Winston and vice versa. They are joined at the hip. He is the face of that team, the face of that franchise. And do you still go down they could still think, obviously, him on the field, everyone thinks he's the best quarterback available in the draft. Where you put him, it's up to you. There are those that think Mariota is as well, but I think Tampa Bay feels Winston is going to take them, maybe was going to take them. Do they still do it? That's a question I can't answer. That's only a question. It's just like if you want to sign a guy who's had some trouble, it's up to an owner. This is up to an owner that says, do I want that here? And that's going to be up to the Glazers. Do you want that as soon as you draft him? That's going to be that is going to be. You know that's going to be headline. Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft player who's in rape civil suit. It's going to be out there. So does it affect them? Again, they've already put out a statement that said it doesn't affect anything they plan on doing, but we'll see.
Mike and Mike.
Ryan Ruocco in for Greeny alongside Golic here on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Right now we have both halves of his and hers. Jemele Hill, Michael Smith, how you doing?
Good, man. Good to be here. How you doing?
Definitely good to
we got a lot to
all.
talk about.
Yeah,
we got social media issues to talk about.
Well, I know. I know
smokes.
that they're going to be on my side when it comes to the selfie stick. I feel very confident about
this. It's about the selfie stick. We won't get into that. That's a tease.
That's
We're
a
going
tease.
to go down that road.
Right. Now, we were just talking about Jameis Winston, and we should also read the statement by his lawyer. Now, if you haven't heard the news, you just heard it in SportsCenter, but now there's the civil suit that was filed against Jameis Winston for the same incident dating back to 2012 in December, and his lawyer, David Cornwell, responded with this. This stunt was expected. Ms. Kinsman's false accusations have already been exposed and rejected 6 times. This time will be no different. Mr. Winston welcomes the opportunity to clear his name with the truth. Mr. Winston is looking forward to the upcoming draft. He will not permit this ploy to distract him as he begins the journey of fulfilling his lifelong dream of being a championship quarterback in the National Football League.
So hearing that statement, I don't know if much was going to distract Jameis. Adam Kaplan was just saying, we've seen Jameis handle himself pretty well in the face of this situation and others as well. I think it's going to be more and I also think everybody knew this was coming down the road. So I think forgetting Jameis about and how he's going to react to it, to me it's more about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, had to know this was coming down the road as well. Does it change? For both of you, I think both of you feel Jameis was going number 1 to Tampa Bay. So if you felt that way, do you still think Tampa Bay says the face of our program is going to be a guy that's going to have a civil rape trial hanging over his head?
I think Mike was a little less convinced of that, and it had nothing to do with...
Right.
Unlike a lot of other people, I just haven't ruled out the Mariota possibility.
Okay, so do you think this would or should, in your eyes, change anything?
You just hit on it. This should be a surprise to anyone involved. I'd be shocked if this ever saw the inside of a courtroom. I'm no legal analyst, but you have to imagine that Jameis Winston would not subject himself to possible liability or some kind of open court testimony. That would surprise me. But that said, if you're Tampa, you've done a lot of work on him, and if you take him, you're comfortable with the person he is. knowing that this situation necessarily wasn't going to go away the moment his name was called.
The added thing, though, is where we are in the NFL. With what they just went through the last year, the public perception of players playing in the league, and now the first one taken in the draft, Tampa Bay, has to realize what's going to be hanging there. So while it would have nothing to do with his play on the field, it's do you want to take that risk of where we are in the NFL?
The NFL has made this point repeatedly. They will continue to make this point. It's a talent and production-based business. If you have enough talent, they can pretty much reconcile anything that you do. And is it a good optic for the possible number one pick in the draft to be having a civil rape case hanging over his head? No, it's not. I wish I could say I expected better of the NFL, but I'm not sure that's necessarily their business either. And, it's interesting because as time has gone on, I think the perception of this case has changed multiple times. And because I'm looking at the language by David Cornwell about this accusations have been exposed and rejected 6 times. What people have to remember is that these are 2 people who believe they're telling the truth. Okay? So
and it's quite possible that they saw this situation differently.
It really is. And on her end of it, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, given the process of reporting this type of allegation, how it's handled on college campuses, which is what that documentary, The Hunting Ground, is about. There's a lot of failures there at that level. And for a lot of people who feel like they've been victimized, this is the only recourse. And I've made this point several times on social media to people say, oh, she was just in it for the money all along. She could be. But realize that when this happened, he was not Jameis Winston. He was just a guy on a team that no one knew who he was. So I just feel like that this is once again going to lead to a very ugly conversation about a very serious issue.
Jemele just mentioned, and I mentioned it earlier, it's a documentary called The Hunting Grounds. It's about rape on college campuses. It was released February 27th. It's been on in some film festivals. You certainly can access it, but it's a whole documentary.
And it was shown here at ESPN, I think, a couple weeks ago.
A lot of women in it, including this young lady, Erica Kingsman, as well. So that documentary is out there.
And the other, and this is somewhat relatable to what's gone on with Adrian Peterson as well. The other part of this is, okay, what's the appropriate punishment? When is something done where it's an act where even if the court says, no, you don't go to jail for life, you do go to NFL jail for life? And when is it, hey, no, you served your time. You're welcome back. You went through whatever. Maybe charges were dropped. Maybe you were cleared of charges. Maybe you had a plea deal where you ended up not doing jail time. That right now feels like a difficult balance because there's not as defined rules when it comes to that like there is in the courtroom.
Yeah, that's why you just got to stick to the facts. And the fact is, and you clarified it earlier, he has not been so much as charged. He has not taken a perp walk. He has not been cuffed. He has not had a mugshot taken. He was accused of this crime. Now, and I think the irresponsible thing that's happened over the course of the Jameis Winston dialogue, and we've said this plenty of times, is that people have lumped all of his issues together. Like, this is separate and apart.
Yes, it is.
From crab legs or soda or a BB gun or a cafeteria table. That's immaturity. That's poor decision-making. It's not poor decision-making to allegedly rape somebody. It's not a poor decision. That's a character thing. And I think we have to be fair, starting with the NFL teams who are evaluating and we in the media and in the public at large, just like we're being fair to his accuser's situation and his accuser's point of view, we have to be fair to Jameis Winston, who has not been charged and has maintained that he believes he did nothing wrong.
Well, Jemele, we've already seen all the degrees you just said. Go back to Ray McDonald, the first incident. He was never charged. San Francisco said, we're keeping him on the field. And they kept him on the field. Greg Hardy was convicted by a bench judge. And then through the law there, he got another trial. So that was thrown out. And we know what happened there. And the Cowboys signed him. Ray Rice, you were talking about plea deals of Ray Rice or how that turned out and what happened with Adrian Peterson. So you hit the full spectrum of convicted to plea deals to not charged to the NFL coming up with the new their policy of saying now it doesn't matter what the court says, we're going to do our own investigation, which is basically what's going on with Greg Hardy right now.
And people have to be fair about this. Is why do you expect the NFL to do something that the courts haven't done? For as much as everyone criticized Roger Goodell, and rightly so, for the initial punishment that he gave Ray Rice, let us not forget that there was a prosecutor who saw that tape and decided this is what he should have. All right, that saw that video. The same thing with Greg Hardy. Therefore, however you feel about that report, and it's ugly. I mean, we all know what's in it. And he was allowed another day in court, and this was the outcome, whether we like it or not. So to then say, oh, the NFL's got to do something. The legal system hasn't even, they've decided already for the NFL.
Yeah, well, we talked plenty of times about, guys with marijuana issues. They don't mind you smoking weed. They just want to know if you're going to fail a test and not be available.
Exactly.
Likewise, this is not a criminal case. As long as you talked about his ability, Jemele, and how that trumps everything. His availability. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be available to practice and play and be a potential franchise quarterback. He's not the first. He's not the first NFL quarterback, let alone the first NFL player or star athlete or professional athlete to be hit with a civil case. It happens quite common.
Yeah, it does.
Michael Smith, Jemele Hill hanging out with us, of course. Both the stars of His and Hers every weekday at noon on ESPN2. Catch their podcast as well. They're going to hang out a little bit more. I want you guys to hear something Michael Wilbon had to say about the NBA we found interesting. Plus, I know you're going to be on my side when it comes to the selfie stick.
I don't know, man.
Oh, no.
Your selfie game is on another level, so I don't know.
There you go. How about that?
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
So, Golic.
We're into the selfie stick talk real quick here. Michael Smith, Jemele Hill in here with us, His and Hers. Churchill Downs has banned the selfie stick. Jemele, I'm going to get because you're going there, so we're going to talk. First off, congrats again to Wayne Fromm. He's a Canadian who invented the selfie stick. Good job out of you.
And by the way, just some support for how popular his invention has gotten. Hembo just sends along this note. Selfie stick sales have increased 3,000% since November.
Wow.
Has he been on Shark Tank yet?
I mean, I think it's too late. He doesn't need their money.
He may not need them. So here's my thought. The selfie stick, it's banned at Churchill Downs, been banned in museums, banned at other concerts, banned in some stadiums. And my thought is, why? So, Jemele, say again what you said, because you're a selfie taker, right?
I am.
And what did you say about selfies? They are what kind of picture?
It's an evolved natural. It's like a natural picture. It's
but spontaneous.
It's spontaneous. Yeah, it's in the moment, and so when you have a stick, then it feels programmed.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You're going to Churchill Downs, correct?
I am.
You are. First time?
First time. Never been to Kentucky Derby. Really looking forward to it.
So as you're packing and all that, taking everything you're taking, you can take your phone, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you plan on right now, telling me right now, in your mind, you're going to take some selfies?
Oh, I'm selfieing it up.
Okay.
Selfie Nation's going down.
What's spontaneous about that?
Oh.
You are now.
But I don't know.
You have to call attention to it.
You just said you are going to take selfies.
Yes.
And I was setting you up for my point, but we'll see if it works or not. So you're going to take selfies.
I don't know who or the moment.
But it doesn't matter. Whether you have a stick or not, people walking around with a phone, you're going to walk around without the selfie stick. You're going to take selfies. So what does it matter whether you have a stick or not? Again, as I said before, do we think a sword fight is going to break out?
It does feel dirty, though.
Sometimes, Golic, you have to draw the line against technology. We already make things too easy.
This is a performance enhancer is what it is. Like, you should be able to extend your own arm.
Are you against it, too?
Yeah, I'm against selfies in general, but I'm definitely against selfie sticks.
Really?
You should have the ability, if you're going to do a selfie, to do it your damn self. It's called a selfie, isn't it? Not a selfie with a system.
It's time for your wingspan to shine.
You got to show wingspan. That's your problem.
If you got a nice group and you can't fit everybody in, now you got to
get a Samsung.
Get less people.
Note. Get a Galaxy Note. There's free advertising. Get one of them big old pictures and big old cameras.
It's true. It's like sometimes, look, I always say this about parties, all right? Yeah, sure, we've all got to the point where we probably get invited to a lot of good parties. But the best party is the party you sneak into. That's old school. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get there with your wits and your gift of gab. You got to earn your way into that party, and it's a better time because you do. The selfie stick takes away all the spontaneity. Like, it's a better picture if I have to wrap my arm around somebody and we get it just so and it's perfect, and I'm like, we nailed it. Good job.
See,
much better.
Golic was bringing up back day. Like, if we're worried about having selfie
is
sticks
that the reason?
Is different than having a bat because that's a weapon too.
Is that
but let me. I came up with the retort. You wanted the in the courtroom response.
I'd like something.
I'll give you the in the courtroom response.
I can handle the truth.
And I'm going to use my experience living in New York City with umbrellas. Okay. It is. Oh my God! It is so. Every time it rains, it's dangerous. Not because of the drops that are falling, but because of the people who are carrying umbrellas like weapons. Where are they carrying them? if they're just walking alongside of them anticipating rain, there's no danger. When they raise them up, that's when the danger comes. And the sticks are in the air, the selfie sticks. That's the problem.
The reason for the umbrella ban is it open, it's blocking the view of people.
No, I'm talking about...
That's the reason of the ban.
But I'm saying when you walk around in the city, it is so dangerous. When you walk in New York City, people, because the umbrellas are poking everybody.
God.
The selfie stick is something to use it. What do? You raise up with it. People's heads are in danger.
A selfie stick is a stinking stick. I mean, are you okay?
We just all need to get over our selfies here. Just in general.
Very nicely done. I guess if you don't like the product, that's one thing. I don't understand why they're banned everywhere. Like we think all of a sudden a selfie stick is going to become an ungodly weapon, like a lightsaber, used against everybody.
And then, like at the Smithsonian, what are they afraid? Like the 800-year-old mummy's going to say something? Like, what's going on? I don't understand.
What are we doing here? So it's a different conversation whether you like selfies or not. You don't. You're a selfie freak. Okay? Okay?
Strong.
Take the stick.
No.
I'm old school. I just feel weird walking down the street with a stick. But to me, selfies in general.
With the stick, it compresses. It's small. You take it out.
Oh, they got a retractable one now?
You know what? I don't know. I can't say that. If not, Wayne probably has that as part of the patent.
And then you unearth this thing, and then you look like that person, like that guy.
You unearth this thing like it's something.
Hold on.
I have to unsheath my selfie stick.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you become that person.
Does it double as a cane? I mean,
so, do people carrying selfie sticks have a stigma?
Yes.
Do they really?
It's demeaning.
People who take too many selfies have a stigma.
As well.
I'm just saying. This is awfully vain and just be like, let me stop traffic right now. Too many people just taking selfies. Like it stops the natural flow of traffic and interrupting everything. It's supposed to be once in a while. I'm supposed to take a selfie every 5 minutes. I just want y'all to go to Michael
Smith's Instagram page and you judge it or not, whether or not he has.
There's like maybe one, and it's with me and my 2-year-old. It was sitting on my lap.
That's
not a lot of selfies.
And that was
on my
done
face.
with the wingspan, not
with
the stick. I'm so glad we got you guys in here for this Subway Fresh Take because we needed to have you on my side so we could put Golic in his rightful corner alone with the selfie stick.
About other actual real issues.
Well,
this is important.
This is very important. Guys, we'll catch you later, noon on ESPN2 on His and Hers.
Thanks, guys.
Michael Smith, Jemele Hill, we roll on here on Mike and Mike.
The best of Mike and Mike. Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. Last season, the Pirates reached the postseason for the second consecutive season, only to be sent home early after losing the wild card. Will they return for the third straight year? This weekend they face the Cubs, who have plans to make their first postseason berth since 2008. The Cubs and Pirates. The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
A healthy Derrick Rose changes the team on both ends of the floor.
I don't think there's a single guy in Chicago's locker room that doesn't believe they can win that series.
This team can hit that magic button and push themselves into the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, that is the task ahead for the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Tom Thibodeau. His team begins the postseason tomorrow, 7 o'clock game against the Bucks. They start in Chicago. You'll be able to watch that on ESPN, and you're able to listen to their head coach right now, who joins us on the Subway Fresh Take hotline. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I'm well.
You know, your team this year has dealt with more injuries, and you've been able to weather the storm, but you're actually going into the postseason for the first time in a few years with those players back on the court. How healthy do you feel like you are right now, Coach?
Well, that's a great question. And you're right, the team has weathered a lot of injuries throughout the season, and as we head into the playoffs, the big question is where are we with Joakim and Derek and Kirk Heinrich and Taj. But if they are healthy or relatively healthy, we do have a deep team, and we're going to face a great challenge with Milwaukee.
Are you still at a point where, with all these injuries, and you just listed them off, and again, you're starting the playoffs with actually not a player on the injured list not playing, so you have to be happy about that. But are you still in the way of managing minutes to work yourself through this until you feel everybody is healthy enough?
Yeah, well, it's really about performance. So you don't want to put someone out there who's not playing well. So That's the big thing. And, you want to be as healthy as you could possibly be, and you want to be playing as well as you possibly can. And the challenge has been, we were obviously pleased to be able to get Derek back for a handful of games before the playoffs begin. But, that's the challenge. How quickly can we get onto the same page?
Coach, we know that in this third game back, and Derrick Rose came back for 5 games at the end of the regular season, he had, 22 points, 8 assists, 6 boards in that game. What did you see from Derrick in those 5 games you got to see him on the floor before the regular season ended?
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I thought each game he'd gotten better and better. He found a rhythm. He had a good balance going between his paint attacks and mid-range game and the three. And I thought he was getting comfortable with his teammates again. It's a big readjustment when he comes back into play. But he makes the game easier for everybody. So that was a big plus, and we were hoping to, have Joakim down the stretch as well, but that didn't happen. So we have to go from there.
Coach, there were some analysts talking about you so known for your defense that you weren't getting the defensive effort that you thought you should be getting. Maybe to Joakim Noah missing time certainly had something to do with that. But those that are saying with Paul Gasol, there was more offensive mindedness as well. What did you think when you heard that going on, or when that defense wasn't playing up to the level that you wanted them to be playing?
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of new players this year. But I didn't agree with the Gasol assessment. I thought Powell had a terrific year for us. His shot blocking and his rebounding were really off the charts. But in going into the season, we wanted to be a balanced team, and we wanted to be in the top 10 in both offense and defense. And we were right there in both. And, it probably was a bad year, for us defensively. I think we were 4th in defensive field goal percentage and 3rd in three-point field goal percentage. But I think we're capable of doing better than that.
Talking with Bulls head coach Tom Thibodeau. Starts the postseason tomorrow, 7 Eastern on ESPN. Game 1 against the Bucks will be in Chicago. Coach, when it comes to Joakim Noah, I know when I was talking to him before doing one of your games last year, he said part of the reason he feels like you and him blend together is it's Game 7 all the time, is your mentality, and it's his mentality. But sometimes when players are hurt, it's hard for them to maintain that sort of mentality. It sort of chips away at their personality. How much is Noah dealing with these nicks and knacks all season long taken away, if at all, from his intensity and the way he sort of has been a guiding personality for this group?
Yeah, I think it's been a challenge for him. And obviously he had an incredible year last year. I believe he finished 4th in the MVP voting. He was first team All-League center, defensive player of the year. And we thought it would take some time. He had surgery, obviously in the off season. But it just, it's been a grind for him. Hopefully as we head into the playoffs, he can take off. But it's, he had an unbelievable year last year, and this year, it wasn't quite the same, but it's not to say that it can't get there.
All right, so in this matchup, what are you looking at? Give us a little breakdown of Milwaukee, a team doesn't have the playoff experience, a lot of young players on that team as well.
Yeah, they're a team that's gotten better and better as the season's gone along. They do have, if you look a little deeper, they do have some guys that have experience. When you have a guy like O.J. Mayo, and you have a Pachulia, and Ilyasova has been around, and of course they have the dynamic young guys that are, Michael Carter-Williams is terrific, Chris Middleton, Giannis, very athletic. Bayless is a guy that's been around. Henson, the shot blocking, but their defense is terrific. They're long, they're quick. And then offensively, they play very unselfishly and they play together. So, we're concerned about, they can turn you over, and if they get into the open floor and get easy baskets on you, that could be a problem. And then they pose some matchup problems. Michael Carter-Williams has the size at the point guard position. They're very good moving without the ball. You have to have great body position against them. But the big thing is we got to make sure that we're playing well on both sides of the ball, and you got to play for 48 minutes.
Coach, it's amazing. As successful as you've been, at first as an assistant and all the defenses that you ran, and now as a head coach, every year you've been with Chicago, we constantly hear, and I know you're not a stranger to it, well, you don't get along with management, and Tom Thibodeau isn't long for Chicago, even if you have a successful postseason run. So when you go into this postseason, do you look at it and say, this may be my last gasp with this group and with this team?
No, not at all. I don't pay any attention to any of that stuff. To me, it's just noise. I do the same thing that I've always done every year, every season, just put everything I have into each and every day. I love our team. Just concentrate on that, get ready to play, and try to win.
And one more about your team. This is a team the last couple of years not going into the playoffs, as we've talked about, at full strength. So, and you have the best pulse to your team than anybody. Now you are, in the last 3 years, going in as full strength as you've been. Is there a difference in the team's kind of demeanor to that? Do they recognize that as well?
Well, and again, I think when you get when you have a Derrick Rose and a Pau Gasol come back to your team, it makes your team a lot different. And of course, Jimmy Butler's had an incredible season. He's gone to an entirely different level. And then we've had a number of guys. Dunleavy's done a great job for us. Aaron Brooks has been phenomenal. Gibson has battled the injuries all year. Noah's battled the injuries all year. But, we feel good about our team, but we know that we have to play well. The thing that you're concerned about is, I don't believe in the magic button. I think that you have to put the work into it each and every day to give yourself the best chance. So we know when you get into the playoffs, you have to play well to win. The same things that go into winning in the regular season go into winning in the postseason. And, there's going to be more of a focus now because you play the same team over and over again.
Yeah, you didn't strike me as the kind of guy that says, okay, team, let's push a button now. We're going to be really good.
I haven't seen that work ever.
Hey, Coach, great to chat with you this morning. Best of luck in the postseason. We'll be watching tomorrow at 7.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Mike and Mike.
NBA TV and TNT analyst Grant Hill joins us now on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Grant, we've talked so much throughout the season about the development of the Cavs and getting the acquisitions they did at the trade deadline and seeing Kyrie Irving blossom even more and LeBron, after, a sluggish start to the season, obviously turn it on for the second half. Where are the Cavs now compared to where you thought they were going to be heading into the season?
Well, I think they're in a good place. I felt if we could learn from history and learn from, Miami back in 2010, it took some time for those guys to figure it out. I think they might have started the first 5 or 6 weeks. They were 500, and then they kind of hit their stride. I think Cleveland, it took a little bit longer, and we began to speculate. We began to question whether it all could work. And I think the trade helped midseason. And I think it just finally, it all kind of came together. And I think they are in a position where back when LeBron chose to go back to Cleveland, we all thought they could be in. So considering what they've gone through and, all of the so-called adversity and questioning whether this team was fit to be a championship caliber team, I think they're right in a good spot, playing great basketball. They got a good roster that really complements each other. And it'll be fun and exciting to see how far they can go.
It's interesting what you just said. Take out the word Cleveland, add the word dealing with injuries, and you could have been talking about the Chicago Bulls. We had Tom Thibodeau on a little earlier, and we're talking about the last 2 years when he's looking at his lineup and it's incomplete in the playoffs. Now it's as complete as it's been in the last few years. So a lot of us saw Cleveland, Chicago at the top of the East. We all did the around the carousel during the regular season, and now it seems – are we back there again, Chicago and Cleveland at the top of the East?
Well, I mean, I think that they are in the conversation. I still I want to see what Atlanta can do. I think Atlanta has cruised through the regular season, and we want to see what they can do in the postseason. But with Chicago and Rose healthy, I tell you, Tibbs. I mean, he should be candidate for Coach of the Year every year, considering all the roster shuffling and uncertainty and lack of continuity, but he seems to get his team to achieve and play at a high level. And if Rose can be what we've seen, and he can be Rose and be healthy, then they have to be in that conversation with Cleveland. And I would put Atlanta up there, too. I think those three teams, each have maybe a realistic chance of winning the East.
Talking with NBA TV and TNT analyst Grant Hill joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Grant, Atlanta, I feel like we don't give the respect to because they don't have that star we attach to, right? I mean, they don't have the guy who we think, you can just throw him the ball and get you a bucket. They move the ball beautifully. They've been at the top of the conference this entire year. Is there basketball reasons beyond them not having a star that would warrant how tepid we are about picking them to come out of the East?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we are unsure. We don't know because they don't have the Derrick Rose, Pau Gasol. They don't have LeBron James, Kyrie Irving. We're so accustomed to superstars leading teams, particularly for deep runs in the playoffs. But, I'll sort of take an unconventional look at it here and look at the Spurs last year. Now, we have stars on that team that are maybe past their time. Tim Duncan, arguably the greatest power forward of all time. Ginobili, has been an all-star. Parker, was maybe kind of just past his prime. But I think they kind of showed you that even with those aging superstars, if you play team basketball and you play the right way, you can have success. And certainly Atlanta, Coach Bud, coming out of that whole San Antonio network, has applied that same philosophy. But there's still kind of like a question mark, I think all of us so-called basketball experts have, kind of a wait and see. We're not quite ready to put them in the same conversation with a healthy Chicago or a LeBron James-led Cleveland team. So it's going to be interesting to watch, and I think you're right. I think maybe the fact they don't have a superstar or a big name, even an aging superstar, leaves us all a little bit skeptical.
Grant Hill joining us. You can catch Grant alongside Ina Eagle and Kevin Ray for Game 2 of Wizards-Raptors Tuesday, April 21st, 8 Eastern on NBA TV. Over in the West, Golden State, obviously the top seed the year that they had, but there are those that say a jump shooting team is going to struggle or can't win an NBA championship. You believe that theory?
Well, I thought last year San Antonio, they've transformed into more of a jump shooting, ball movement team, and they did quite well. I think Golden State has a chance. Look, I look at 5 or 6 of the teams in the West. I think any one of them has a chance. That's how crazy it is out West. I love what Steve Kerr has done and, continuing with what Mark Jackson established. Steph Curry playing at an elite level and that team just having a great spirit about that team. But then, you look at the Clippers and how they've played as of late. You look at San Antonio. They have the 4th best record in terms of wins, losses, but they're a 5th seed. They've been as hot as any team as of late, and they're a 5th seed, and they could emerge out of the West. So, it's hard to make any sense of who's going to come out, who's going to be the best team. I think it's going to be, it's going to be must-see television. I can't wait to watch. And I'll tell you this. I'm going to ask you a question, Golic. Mm-hmm. If you go back to the start of the season and you channel your inner Jimmy the Greek, God rest his soul.
Yes.
Could you have imagined that Golden State and Atlanta, both those teams, would have won 60-plus games and been number one in each conference?
Not a chance. Not a chance. And anybody who went to Vegas and slapped some money down on it is really happy when the regular season ended. But no, not one chance.
And so the league has been, look, you got 2 teams that no one picked to be there. You got the Knicks and the Lakers, 2 big markets, teams not in the playoffs, haven't been good, haven't been relevant. And you know what? It's exciting basketball. So, go figure. It's hard to sort of get a feel for why, but I know I'm excited. I just came off the heels of the in-state tournament and now the playoffs. And as a fan and as an old has-been, I'm excited to watch.
We're talking with NBA TV and TNT analyst Grant Hill. NBA TV will televise up to 9 first-round NBA playoff games. The network's studio show, NBA Game Time, will provide comprehensive nightly coverage throughout the playoffs, including pre- and post-game as well as live press conference coverage. Grant, before we let you run, Golic and I talked about this briefly earlier, but Chris Paul, in his career, is 22-31 in the playoffs. However, I think most of us in this Clippers-Spurs series, despite the seeding, would say, well, San Antonio's the favorite. So if the Clippers lose this series, would it be right to crush Paul and bring up his playoff record?
You know, first of all, let me say I love Chris Paul, one of my all-time favorite teammates, and one of the great players and ambassadors in the NBA. He has not had the great success in the postseason, and I think this is a critical year for him. A critical year for him, but also for the Clipper franchise as they have become relevant, become considered maybe possibly a contender. They have to win this. They have to get out of the first series. They have to beat a team, the defending champion. They were embarrassed by them 2 or 3 years ago in the postseason and haven't had that success. And so, Chris, I think it's unfair. I think, it's kind of unfair that, we give all the credit to the superstar and we give them all the blame when they don't. I think that's part of being in that position. But I think for him to continue to be in that conversation, as fair or unfair as it is, he's got to beat the Spurs and maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. For his sake, this might be the best opportunity he has in terms of his team. They already had a year under their belt, 2 years under their belt with Doc Rivers. They don't have the distraction of last year with the Sterling stuff going around. So this might be his best chance and his best team in terms of Chris Paul leading the team on a long playoff run.
Grant, always great to chat with you. Enjoy the first round, and I'm sure we'll be watching Tuesday night when you team up with Ian Eagle and Kevin Ray for Game 2 on NBA TV between the Wizards and Raptors.
All right, I appreciate it. Take care, Mike the Greek.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
You know, Golic, AutoZone does all these cool things to help customers get in the zone.
Sure do. They charge your battery for free. They even loan tools free for bigger jobs.
Right, but what if your zone is something else? Like, what if your zone is winning the ultimate Mike and Mike experience, 4 days and 3 nights in L.A. for the ESPYs?
AutoZone is helping us get you there. It's the Mike and Mike experience at the ESPY Sweepstakes, presented by AutoZone. All the details are at ESPNRadio.com/Mike's ESPY contest.
Cool.
It's called The Zone. AutoZone's going to help get you there.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals.
That one is gone.
The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.